A lesson on writing thank you notes. You might have seen episodes of The Tonight Show where Jimmy Fallon creates jokes out of the practice of writing thank you notes. You know the ones. Thank you, homeschooling, for basically being 20 minutes of work and 6 hours of educational Disney movies. Thank you, wiping down doorknobs, for making me realize that before this I cleaned you a total of 0 times. Thank you, face masks, for making every trip to the grocery store feel like Mad Max Fury Road. Fallon's thank you note jokes point out some of life's ironies, peculiarities, and irritations, but sometimes his notes express genuine gratitude for the hard work of others. Thank you, quarantine, for bringing out the best in Americans, our resilience, our acts of support for one another, and for some reason an obscene amount of banana bread. Thank you for all the heroes helping us get through this. Doctors, nurses, first responders, service workers, delivery drivers, and all you guys at home for doing your best to hang in there. We're going to get through this. These more genuine notes are more in keeping with the purposes of the actual thank you note. Because fewer people send letters through the mail these days, many people have decided that thank you notes are obsolete. But gratitude never goes out of style. Thank you notes are an essential part of conducting business, and socially, when we extend the gesture of showing that gratitude in writing, we make a big difference to someone else. We demonstrate that something they did for us is important. This lesson will examine the components of a well-written thank you note and identify the situations in which thank you notes are appropriate. As a result of completing this lesson, you will be able to do the following. List and explain the primary components of the thank you note. Explain the different reasons for and styles of writing thank you notes. Assess actual thank you notes for their components, styles, and overall effects. Compose a sample thank you note for a hypothetical gift. Before viewing this screencast video, you completed a survey explaining the situations for which you have written or would write a thank you note. Almost all of you said that you had written thank you notes for gifts you had received, such as for your birthdays or for graduation, and most of you said that you had written thank you notes to someone who invited you to stay in their home or invited you to dinner or to some event. Some of you said that you had written thank you notes for job interviews. Others of you said that you had written thank you notes to an organization for awarding you a scholarship, and a few others of you said that you had written thank you notes to a past teacher who had made a difference in your life. The results of this survey showed that we thank people for gifts, for kind gestures, for service, for a job well done, for coming to a special event, for showing sympathy, for doing business with us, or for making a recommendation. In fact, if you feel gratitude for something another person has done for you, it's not inappropriate to show that gratitude in writing. Because thank you notes are typically brief, it's customary to handwrite them on social stationery. The exception to this guideline would be if the thank you note is for business purposes, such as a nonprofit organization thanking a donor for a contribution, or a person thanking a business for a job interview. In such professional situations, a typed business letter would be appropriate with your signature at the end. We will look at some examples of different types of thank you notes, but first, let's outline some of the most important components of the social thank you note. The first is the salutation, which is the line that says, "Dear fill in the blank." This is the easy part. If you're writing to a friend or close family member, simply use the name you usually call that person. If you're writing to a business associate, potential employer, or leader of an organization, then use a courtesy title and last name, as in Dear Mr. Smith or Dear Dr. Jenkins. In the body of the thank you note, specify what you're thankful for. For instance, if you received a gift, don't simply write "thank you for the gift" or "thank you for the present." State exactly what that gift is, as in "thank you for the Spotify subscription" or "thank you for the gift card to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse." During occasions where you would receive many gifts, such as a wedding or a graduation, it's important for you to reveal that you know who gave you what and that you haven't lost track. Once you have identified the gift you received, it's smart to point out at least one specific good thing about it, and you should develop that good point with examples and details. Avoid simply saying, I like it a lot, or it's awesome, or it's really nice. All of those things are probably true, but they're vague and they say very little about the gift itself. Just as you develop your idea specifically in other written works, you should develop your thank you note specifically as well. A good example would be something like this. I enjoy listening to music while I jog, and now I have an entire library of music right at my fingertips. I especially like the way I can create different playlists for different occasions. Once you have explained how the gift is special to you, simply write a follow-up sentence which should refer to the gifter's generosity or good friendship, or it could be a prediction of how useful or pleasurable the gift might be in the future. Here are a couple of examples. I have a feeling that through the summer I'll be able to jog longer because I'll have upbeat music to keep me going thanks to your generosity. Or, you have always remembered my big moments with the gift that you know I will especially enjoy, and you have outdone yourself this time. The last element is the closing. If you don't know the gifter very well, you can close with a phrase like sincerely, or with gratitude, or with much appreciation. If the gifter is a family member or close friend, you can sign the note with love. A good closing that works for almost any letter is all my best. After the closing, sign your name. You'd be surprised how many people forget that part. There are some special situations you should keep in mind when writing a thank you note. Many people will send gifts of cash or gift cards. If you receive such a gift, you're not required to comment on the amount of money given. Instead, you can explain what you intend to do with the money. If you don't know yet, you can explain how you will collect it with other gifts of cash to buy a more expensive item, or that you will put it into savings until you really need it. Sometimes we receive gifts we can't identify. If you can't figure out how a gift is supposed to be used, do your best to describe it and show your appreciation. Here are some examples. The piece of pottery is beautiful. I love handcrafted presents. The silver piece you sent me is lovely, and I'm especially touched that you had it engraved. I've just received the keychain you sent me, and I especially like the small tool attached to it. All three of those gifts, the piece of pottery, the piece of silver, the small tool, are items that we just can't figure out what they're for, but still we've found a way to express some specific appreciation for them. You might receive something that you already have. This happens often on occasions when you receive a number of gifts, such as graduation or a wedding. If this happens, don't mention the duplication. Thank each gifter as if it's the only item you have received. Do not ask where the gift came from, and do not indicate that you would like to return or exchange it. In rare instances, you might receive a gift that's shipped to you and it arrives broken. Again, don't mention that in the thank you note. Your note should focus on the gift itself and the generosity of the person who gave it to you. If the broken gift was sent from a store, you can contact the store and discuss the broken item. Many times, groups of unrelated people, like coworkers or friends from school, will chip in for a gift. If you receive a gift from such a group of people, you should thank each person individually, and each thank you note should be unique. You can say the same general things about the gift, but just in different ways. You can change the word order or the order of sentences. In this slide, we have 3 examples expressing gratitude for a crystal candlestick. Essentially, the passages say the same general things, but we've written the sentences in different ways. Finally, sometimes we receive gifts that we don't especially like. Have you ever gotten a dictionary as a birthday present? Socks? Index cards? Thank you notes for such gifts are a challenge to write. Nevertheless, we must remember that the person who gave it thought that we would like that gift very much, so we should show gratitude in such a way that we have hidden our distaste for that item. In the example on this slide, a college student has received a case of canned tomato soup. While this is not a gift she would have asked for, she has found several different ways to highlight the benefits of having all that soup as a college student. Let's take a look at some examples of thank you notes. We'll start with an inappropriate one. This note shows general acknowledgement of a gift that was sent, but because the note does not identify the item and because it doesn't say something specific about that gift, the note gives the impression that Tanya and Jeff don't really care about the gift. Notice that Tanya and Jeff have not included a salutation. The absence of that element suggests that Tanya and Jeff write the same thing on every thank you note they send out. Finally, Tanya and Jeff have not included a closing. They've just signed their names. That omission again suggests that Tanya and Jeff have little to no enthusiasm for the gift and very little appreciation for the gifter's generosity. Here's an example of a more appropriate thank you note. Belinda has written a suitable greeting before thanking her aunt for a 4-piece place setting of china. She has explained with several specific examples the reasons she appreciates this place setting. She notes which pattern it is. She expresses hope for using it in the future with friends. In fact, she says specifically that she would like to invite Aunt Shelda over for dinner during the holidays. Belinda has closed her note with the phrase, "with sincerest gratitude," and her specific details about the gift indicate that her gratitude is in fact sincere. Let's look at another one. Jaleel has received a check for graduation. Because it's difficult to say something specific about the check itself, Jaleel not only says what he will spend the money on, a bike lock and a helmet, but he also explains the reason for his choice. Those items will be useful when he goes to college. Notice that Jaleel has added a sentence thanking his grandmother not only for the present, but also for her presence at his graduation ceremony. That play on words at the end of the note gives it a little extra personality. Here's an example of a thank you note for the gift that the recipient, Mark, doesn't especially like, but he's taken the time to identify something about the gift that's special and appreciated. Mark identifies the shirt and tie specifically, and he anticipates that he will stand out as a well-dressed student in school. He mentions that the tie is silk, so he praises the quality of it. Finally, he mentions Mrs. Bledsoe's thoughtful note that she tucked inside the gift. Even though Mark might not wear a shirt and tie to his first college class, he found several specific aspects of this gift that he can highlight to show his appreciation. You might notice that all the previous examples of thank you notes begin with the words, "thank you." That's a logical way to get started. Sometimes, though, once you've said thank you for a gift, it's a challenge to compose the next sentences in such a way that they follow smoothly to the end. One idea you can try is to start with the details about the gift first and close with the thank you statement. In this note, Bianca starts by saying that she has received the gift, and then she explains the fine quality of it and how it's one of her favorite gifts. Her last sentence is where she says thank you. When you organize the sentences in this way, you end the letter with a powerful punch. This video will be available to you throughout the module so that you can review the different examples in it and read them carefully. We'll look at other examples as well. I'll give you a list of the primary elements of a thank you note, and you can use that list to guide you as you write thank you notes of your own.